Hi, my name is Stacey and I'm with Connectable Life. On Mondays, we have Motivational Mondays with Margaret Hirsch, where we discuss a different topic. And this past Monday, it was on mindful eating, nutrition, and how to heal your body through the foods that you eat. So during this conversation, I mentioned that I had lost 28 kgs. But what I didn't mention was that I've actually done this a couple of times. So I initially did it in my 20s, and then I did it after some of my pregnancies. I've had 4 pregnancies, and during each pregnancy I put on a lot of weight. But after I said this, a lot of people messaged me privately asking if I would tell my story, and I said yes, I would send a video. So here I want to just share a little bit of my story of how I lost the weight and why I lost the weight, and hopefully it can encourage you or help you in some way. As a child, I struggled with some learning disabilities and was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, or if you want to say labeled with those things. And as a result, I was put onto Ritalin. Now, Ritalin is a psychotropic drug. It falls under that banner of drugs, and it has many side effects for lots of people, and it had many side effects for me. Some people maybe not so much, and others more. And the side effects, one of the side effects that Ritalin had for me was it took away my appetite. I did not want to eat. And as an 8-year-old, your parents want you to eat. Now, I grew up in an incredibly healthy family. My parents are both very healthy eaters, but I took a dislike to all healthy food and wanted to only eat junk processed foods. So sadly, as a result of me only wanting to eat unhealthy processed junk food, it created an unhealthy relationship with food for me. And that relationship needed to be broken. It needed to be ended. I needed to change my opinions of food from the unhealthy options to the healthy options. I ended up putting on a lot of weight, especially as a teenager. So I eventually went off the Ritalin as a teenager, and I put on a lot of weight because I only liked junk food and processed food. So as much as everybody tried to give me healthy food, that was not the food that I naturally wanted. And then in my university years, I was termed grossly obese. But that wasn't so much the problem. The problem was that I actually struggled with mental health issues, which I think many teens and young adults struggle with. And it was the food that I was eating was definitely affecting my mental health, but it was also affecting my energy, and I needed to become healthy. So family members and friends took it into their hands to talk to me and guide me and just educate me on this subject. I then sought the help of a dietitian and a coach, and through a process I started to lose weight. But during this time, I also had a massive life change. I became a Christian, and I wanted to change everything. I wanted to change my view of healthy versus unhealthy. I wanted to change so much about my life, and one of those things was my relationship with food. I'd had an unhealthy relationship with food, and I think many of us have certain opinions of foods and possibly unhealthy opinions and relationships with food, and that was definitely my story. So during this change in wanting to change my lifestyle and my life and wanting to become more healthy, I ended up losing 28 kgs. And the only way I did this was by changing my diet. So I incorporated healthy foods. I went through a dietitian, and I cut out all the unhealthy. I kept good fats, the good carbs, so sweet potato, all those things that when we see somebody who is knowledgeable in this area, they'll guide you in the right direction. But sadly, this all changed again when I fell pregnant. Obviously, I had a massive hormonal shift during my pregnancies, and even though I was eating healthily, I still gained roughly on average between my 4 pregnancies, 25 kgs per pregnancy. So after my first pregnancy, I followed the same steps, and through breastfeeding and just wanting to be healthy, I managed to lose the weight. And for me, losing the weight and for being healthy, more than actually losing the weight, is massive for my mental health and just my self-esteem. Everybody is different, but for me it affects my mental health very badly. It makes me depressed, it makes me anxious, it changes me. But after my second and third pregnancy, I found it really hard to lose the weight. And I wasn't motivated, and my head wasn't in the game, and I wasn't wanting to walk alongside people who were going to help me. But then my second born had a massive traumatic brain injury. He fell 5 meters onto concrete and he cracked the back of his head open and had bleeding on the brain and was in ICU. Obviously, this comes with lots of worry and lots of fear and concerns from the doctors and from us for his brain health, his mental state, his cognition, and epilepsy potentially. So I then went on a quest, and during this, obviously, because mental health has always been a big thing in my life, I have been very interested in following mental health practitioners and neuroscientists, and one of them that I followed was Caroline Leaf, and she talks about traumatic brain injuries all the time and the health of your brain and how your brain is neuroplastic, which is incredible because it means that we can remold and we can change our brain to work for us instead of us just following every thought and pattern that goes on in our brain. And through following her, I came across a TED talk where a doctor called Dr. Daniel Amen was talking about how we can change our brain, and the reason he knows this so well is because he does something called a SPECT imaging scan, and that is a certain x-ray, it's like an x-ray of the brain that shows all the different brain patterns and where there are areas in the brain that aren't working properly, where whole areas of the brain can die off and people will never know. But there are many reasons why your brain would be struggling, and one of the reasons is our nutrition and the foods we eat. So I made a conscious decision that we needed to change even more. We needed to become pretty extreme as a family for us to all mold and change our brains so that we can get all our neurochemicals working and neurotransmitters, and we can remold our brains. And that was a really big step for us. But as a result of all of these life changes, I also went for a DNA test, and my husband went for hormone testing. I went for a DNA test because I'd heard so much about it, and I just thought if I knew the blueprint of my life, it means I can live a healthier life to close the areas that are unhealthy and open the areas that are healthy. Now, I'm not a specialist in this area, so it's just the research I've done and the specialists I've worked with, but it's incredible. Our DNA and our genetics are incredible. We can open the good parts of our DNA that we want to live, and we can close the parts that are bad. But in the same light, we can also open the bad aspects of our genetics and our bad genes and close the good genes. This is called epigenetics, and it is through our lifestyle. So it is through healthy eating, exercise, good mental health space, good relationships, good what they call peer pressure. So having the right peer groups, I should say. And through all of these, we can change how our DNA actually works. We can open up the good DNA and close the bad DNA. And I decided I wanted that. I wanted to find out what my DNA profile was, what my blueprint for my life was, and close the things that were bad. And I found out that there were a couple of things for me. For instance, I don't detox well. I need help in the detoxing area, which is huge because I need to get those toxins out of my body. I also found that I have got fatty liver disease. I've got the gene for fatty liver disease. I don't actually have that, but I've got the gene for that, which is another massive one because now I can live my life with the right foods and supplements and exercise to stop fatty liver disease in my life, which causes so many knock-on effects and health issues and autoimmune issues and diseases. So while I was going through all of this, my husband had the same epiphany. His weight has also yo-yoed, and he has also got a massive weight journey himself. But he was feeling really lethargic, and he had no energy, and he is a marathon runner. He is an avid sportsman and loves exercising. That comes naturally for him. But he found while he was exercising, he just was not himself. So he went for hormone tests, and he was given the most incredible profile, and things that should be closed were open, and things that the hormones that should be working his body were not working, and he needed to change and adjust and take supplements and eat certain food groups to help him in this area, which has changed his life. So as I was saying, after my second and third born, I wanted to lose the weight. But there was another incentive. I had a friend's wedding, and she had bought all of our dresses with our size recommendations. We told her the sizes, and she went and bought it. And it just so happened that the size I believed I wasn't at all. And it's a very regular size. It's not small or extra small. And I needed to fit into this dress because I couldn't get it made. So what I decided to do was seek the help of another professional, as I love to do, because I need to be accountable to people, and I would like a specialist speaking into my life. And I was advised to do intermittent fasting, and everybody's different, and women potentially have a little bit harder time with this because of our hormones. But again, I'm not a healthcare practitioner, so I can't give advice on this, but I did intermittent fasting and it worked really well for me. The weight dropped off. I changed my diet at the same time. I incorporated all the healthy, good foods because of these family lifestyle changes we were making. And as a result of those two things, of my changed diet and my intermittent fasting, the weight fell off of me. And it wasn't about the weight, it was about a healthy lifestyle. It was about being mentally healthy, and it was about being me again and finding the best version of me. So if you're wanting to find the best version of you and you are struggling, even if it's just with your mental health or your energy or your sleep, whatever you are going through, you can get the guidance and help. You can change the situation. Start by talking to us. We want to help you. We will guide you in the right direction. We work with almost 100 different specialists, and we would love to help you with your journey.